Hello, people. It's your boy Usmaan back again with another football podcast. We have got a special lineup for you today. As always, I'm joined by Kojo and Daniel. How are you doing, boys?
All good, man. All good. Yourself?
Good to have you back on. Yeah, I'm good. And we've got two very special guests previewing the game for us as well. Sanj and Jordan. Boys, how are we doing?
I'm all right.
Evening. What's happening, bro?
Good, man. Thank you for coming on. Absolute pleasure. As always, make sure you drop a like, subscribe. The links to everybody's social media is in the description, so make sure you go and show them love. As always, we will be taking any questions, so get them in. I'll try and answer as many as we possibly can. We are going to start with the first game of the season, which is Liverpool against FA Cup holders Arsenal, not Chelsea. Arsenal, you know, just have to get that in early, you know that is. But listen, boys, I know I'm gonna start with the two neutrals in it. Daniel, I'm gonna come to you first and foremost, mate. Obviously, Community Shield. If you know how it is. If Arsenal win it, it's a huge trophy. If they don't win it, then it don't mean nothing.
Wow, already. Wow. Oh, case like that.
I'm just testing the waters.
That's all good. It's all good.
No, but joke just had Daniel, what are your thoughts? But I'm just happy to see football back and Man United not playing, because every time we play, it's heartache at the moment. So, what are your thoughts, Daniel, mate?
No, I think it's good to have football back. Obviously, it's been a couple of weeks without live football, especially Premier League football. So it'll be good to have that back. I think in terms of this game, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Liverpool have made any first team signings.
Just the left back from Greece.
Yeah, left back from Greece, yeah, but I don't see him playing. And then obviously Arsenal, the Gabriel move, but obviously I don't think he'll be registered in time for the game. So it's kind of it's going to be a kind of a game just to enjoy. There's not really going to be much taken away from it. I just think it's going to be a good game to watch between Liverpool and Arsenal, really, just to have fun. Like, I don't think there's much to analyze about the game. If I'm honest, personally, I'm just going to enjoy the game.
Fair enough. Coach, obviously, regarding the Community Shield, as Daniel's alluded to, you don't want to be over-analytical when you're watching the game, because half the times the teams that win don't tend to do well in the league. But there's not really a correlation with winning the Community Shield and having a good season at all. But what are your thoughts going into the game?
I think it'll be good for either side to just get on a winning start at the end of the day. I think both teams will just go into the game to win. Liverpool, we know what they're about at this point. They haven't changed much with their team, so obviously just adding that left back, who would be a much more natural replacement for Robertson if he's dropped for a game or two instead of Milner, it works nicely. So you've got that, and you've got Arteta, who's now starting to try and build his team, and I think it's more important for him to win this game than Liverpool, just because they need to get into a bit of a rhythm fast and see if they can build what they're trying to build, see if it's starting to get into place. And I think a win here will be important. So people might underestimate the game and say it's not much, but it's always good to start the season with a win one way or another. So I think it's important, more for Arsenal than Liverpool anyway.
Yeah, Jordan, just coming to Arteta, I recall a few seasons back, obviously you guys were to remind you when you played Liverpool in the first game of the season, it might be under Wenger, when you got absolutely hammered, but it was because you weren't prepared. Have you seen any? That wasn't even dropping shade.
Well, you was, but it's fine. Just own it, innit? If you're gonna shoot your shot, just own it, innit?
Like, Arsenal got absolutely hammered.
There you go.
Basically against Liverpool, standard first day of the season. But have you seen any differences coming into this game in terms of the way you kind of approach the new season under Arteta? Is there a difference, or do you think it's exactly the same coming into this game?
No, I do see a difference. I did say it's under Emre, to be fair, the first 6 months. So yeah. I don't want to talk too soon, but I do see a difference. The main difference I see in this Arsenal team is a work rate. I think there's still some fundamentals that need a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of quality injection. But I think the first thing is I'm seeing a work rate, a willingness to want to beat the club, a willingness to want to play for the club, and to deliver something on the pitch that I think is the bare minimum, which is put everything out there, run hard, stop crosses, support your teammates. It's been lacking at Arsenal for many, many years. So I think in that sense, he's brought that back. Forget the glamour and the style of play and all that sort of thing. Just basics. I'm seeing the guys jump harder, run faster, track back better. In regards to the games, briefly, I feel like for Liverpool, the result is completely irrelevant. I don't think the result for Liverpool is whether they win or lose. I don't think it matters anything for them at all. And I don't think it should. I think for Arsenal, it's not that important either, but I think it's a little bit more than for them than for Liverpool. I think for my club, I'm looking to see combinations of play and phases of play that give me confidence to go forward. So I'm not expecting to get 90 minutes where it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm expecting to get 10-minute phases where I can see, oh, down the left-hand side, I can see what they're doing there. Oh, that partnership in the middle, I can see what's happening there. And granted, it will be a skeleton team. There'll be substitutes and, it'll be a mess of a team in terms of ins and outs. But I'm just looking for small signs to cling to show me I see what Arteta's doing in certain areas of the pitch.
Yeah, no, I think that's an important point that you've made in terms of patterns of play in particular. And obviously, I'll ask you guys regarding what you think, what you expect from this Arsenal team. Again, under Wenger, the first thing that I would always associate, and obviously, as a Man United fan, I was never a fan of Arsenal, but I've always respected the way they've played football. You can't not respect them. They always play the beautiful way. So it will be interesting to see what Arteta implements. And just the general consensus within the group at the moment is, this game basically is irrelevant for Liverpool. What are your thoughts regarding the game? And do you think Klopp? Well, I know Klopp won't have that same mindset, but do you, as a fan, have the mindset of I don't really care, I'm just here to enjoy the game, really?
But let's be honest about this. If your team wins the Charity Shield or Community Shield, we've won a trophy. If you lose, you just say it's a friendly. So that's the way it's always going to be. I think it would be nice to see a performance that reminds us of just how good this Liverpool team are. It was hard to gauge where they were when the season ended because, when we came back after lockdown, I think basically the whole country had accepted Liverpool were going to win the title. It was just a question of when. And it happened, I think it was within 2 games. There's no doubt that there were games after that where they took their foot off the pedal or they weren't quite as motivated as they had been, which is absolutely understandable. Equally, I think it's quite interesting to see how they match up against this Arsenal side, because this Arsenal side obviously beat them 2-1 towards the end of the season in a bizarre game. I'm sure Jordan agrees. It was a completely bizarre game in the sense that Liverpool dominated the ball, had loads of chances, but never looked like they were going to win that game. After Arsenal went in front, that was it. It looked like Arsenal were going to keep Liverpool at bay all the way through. And I think Arsenal have been quietly quite impressive since Arteta took over. And if you look at the big games that they've won under him, they've been obviously Liverpool, they beat Chelsea, they beat Manchester City, and I think you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jordan. I think they beat Manchester United at home as well.
We did. We did.
Yeah. So those are 4. I'm not. I didn't bring that up to make you happy. I'm being
I get reminded daily, don't worry.
But I think that the fact that they can come away or come into this season with those 4 big wins under their belt makes them realise how good they can be if, like you were saying, they believe in their manager's methods and they work hard, they fight hard, and all that. For Liverpool, I think it's just a question of can they maintain that hunger which they've had. It's an unparalleled period for Liverpool. They've had that hunger for 2 seasons. Just remember, the season before they got 97 points. Last year was 99. Yeah. So they are a team that have been playing at the highest level now for 2 years. If they can make it 3 years, then I'll be impressed. I'm not sure. I've got to be honest. I'm not sure. I need to see it with my own eyes to see if that hunger, that dedication is still there. The personnel's not changed. Maybe I've heard rumours about Thiago coming in, Thiago Alcantara from Bayern Munich. And that will give them a different feel to the way their midfield plays. But I want to see the hunger. That's all I want to see. I'm not too bothered about the result. I'll be gutted if we lose, but it'll be one of those gutted that will be with me for about an hour. That'll be all right.
Yeah, to be fair, though, I think a lot of fans in general just enjoy this as a game, as a spectacle. Like for me personally, I'm not gonna lie. It probably would benefit Arsenal more for the win because of the psychological aspect of going into the new season. Like I said, a couple of seasons ago, they lost to Liverpool on the opening day. Again, it's not a league game, but just as a fan as well, you think, no, at least we've made progress or at least we've competed a couple of seasons ago. Like I mentioned, they didn't do that. Kojo, coming to you just regarding the style of play, obviously Jordan's alluded to what he expects. I know you're a football man and you love beautiful football in terms of regardless of which team it is. I'm not going to mention your league, don't worry, man.
Jeez.
Talk to me about what you expect. Talk to me what you expect from Arsenal, because look, obviously Jordan's alluded to the patterns of play, but what do you expect from Arteta? Have you seen any patterns, or what philosophy do you think he's going to implement, and do you think he'll do it in this game as well?
I think we'll see something similar to what they did at the Emirates when they won that game. The pressing was a lot more cautious in the sense that they really picked the right moments to press Liverpool, and it seemed like that was well drilled into them. It wasn't just like a press for the sake of pressing because that's your tactic, that's your style.
Yeah.
And of course, I think he still wants to try and get them in a position to play ball controlling football, control possession and all that. But Liverpool was a bit difficult to do that because they've also got guys that can control the ball well. So I think he's going to try and do that. I won't be surprised to see Alba out on the left again, even though that's not something I agree with. But I think he's got a bit of the work rate to help try and stop Trent whipping balls in freely. I don't think we'll see Pepe start. I think we'll see Willian start.
Yeah.
Because I think Willian's much the better defensively as well. So that'll try and help to stop Robertson from the left side, so to counter that. And obviously, we always speak about Liverpool lacking a bit of creativity from the midfield three. So we don't know if he's going to start Keita to try and help that come through. But either way, I think it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more tactical, just like the game at the Emirates. And I think that suits Arsenal. Arsenal show that different side to them. That side that is not just about playing one way and trying to win that one way. I think it's good that he's got them playing different styles in different games to try and get the right result. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him take the same approach they did, because it worked and they won, innit?
And sorry to cut in there, just on Kojo's point there, I agree, because there's so many things that Arsenal fans want this season from the team and everything. And we'll see how the season plays out, obviously. But there's only one thing, the main thing that I'm looking for from Arsenal this season. I'm just looking for Arsenal to be hard to beat. So I think it's interesting that Kojo makes the point about our wide men doing a job to stop their players. Now that might to some seem quite defeatist, because like, why have you got attacking players stopping their wing backs? But in those games where Liverpool's creativity comes from the width, that's a game where I'm happy to sacrifice attacking beautiful football if it means we're in the game after an hour. Liverpool are the one team in the last 5-6 years we've played, and in most of those games, the game's over at half time. We're 3-4, 5-0 down. Yeah. So I don't mind getting to the hour mark. And even if they're 1-0 down, 2-1 down, be in the game. This season for me, it's about how many clean sheets can we keep? And can we keep the number of chances conceded down? That's my thing. Arsenal for too long have been easy to play against. I've watched so many games. Even when we play well, we're still letting in 6, 7, 8 goal scoring chances. So hang on a minute. How does that work? So for me, I'm looking for Arsenal to be hard to beat. If you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us. But let's make teams work for it. Too many games this season, or the last 5-10 years, teams aren't having to work very hard to beat Arsenal. So Sunday for me is a very good indicator of, can we make Liverpool, if they're going to beat us, make them work for it, rather than two silly goals. We're just giving goals away. That's what we need to kind of eradicate as well, giving goals away.
Jordan, if I can just quickly button and ask you a question. What do you think about... because obviously the way that Arteta made you hard to beat was by transitioning into the three at the back. And obviously three at the back has obviously been something that English football has taken. I think Conte probably, I would say, give him credit for introducing that. But teams have used that to try and be more solid when they've been leaking in goals and whatnot. So do you think going into this season, that same three at the back formation is the formation to go with, or...
It's interesting because, first of all, I hate three at the back. I just hate it as a formation. For me, it's a cheat formation. It's a formation you use when you haven't got good defenders. Yeah, I don't respect it. I just don't respect it. I know that Holland back in the day. Sorry,
safety in numbers.
Yeah, I know Holland traditionally have used it over the last 30 years, and they have a system that doesn't. It's about ball possession, and theirs is a bit different. But for me, if I see a team playing three at the back, that says to me, you ain't got good defenders. That's what it says. So I hate it as a formation. I thought the reason why David Luiz got the 1-year extension deal was because that is the only formation that he actually looks good in, which for me is worrying in itself, but I get the rationale. But now you've got Saliba and Gabriel in the team. I'm thinking, why are we playing three at the back? Because you've now got seemingly two good centre-backs that should be able to play in a back four. Now, I'm not one of these Arsenal fans going to gas up the thing and say like, yeah, we're going to be great because we've got Saliba and Gabriel. I've not seen much of them. Saliba looks really good. I'm excited by him. But I'm not going to start saying big statements before I've seen them play. I'm not one of those types of fans. So the three at the back for me is a no-no. However, it's worked. It has worked for Arsenal. So if it's worked, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But as a rule, to answer your question, I don't like three at the back. But if it's worked previously against Liverpool, Man City, then build upon that.
Yeah.
Yes, Sam, just coming to you on the back of obviously what some of the guys have said, in terms of your midfield, the lack of creativity, and obviously having Willian in the team to nullify your wing backs. Do you think that's going to be an issue this season moving forward? Obviously, three at the back as well. There's more opportunities for them to potentially pin you back as well in terms of your full back, and a lot of creativity does seem to come from those wide areas, doesn't it?
I don't think of that as a thing. I don't think that our lack of creativity is an issue for midfield. It's one of those things that when people talk about what are the potential weaknesses of the Liverpool side, they might say it's the midfield. And I would say, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but that midfield, the work they put in, and it's structural work. It's not, they're not all running around madly and chasing the ball down. There's a method to their madness.
Yeah.
And there are players who can pick passes. I mean, you look at all three midfielders who start on a regular basis, and I don't know who you'd say they were, but I would say probably Henderson as the captain. I'd say Fabinho, and then it's up to you whether you say it's either Wijnaldum or Keita. But they all contribute something going forward, whether it's the odd goal, the odd assist. You can't underestimate them. And the work that they do by harrying the opposition and then feeding the front three straight away, that's their creativity. That's their outlet. If I had a concern, it's that the front three numbers have slowly, very slowly, not drastically, just diminished every season since they started together. When they first came together as a unit back in 2017-18, everyone, even if you're a Man United fan, would say that front three was unbelievable to watch. They combined in a way that no one had seen in this country for a long, long time. And then every team since then has had a plan to stop them. And basically, it's by denying that width or just condensing in the centre. And so they've got fewer places to operate in. And then that's asking in the field to do something. And most of the time we get through it. We found a way to, get past that press. It's not a concern for me, but I can understand why people think it might be. But I think it's one of those things where it's a team that the nucleus of it has been together for quite a long time. Are they starting just now because they've won the league, they've won the Champions League? Is that hunger going to be there to go the next season, the next step, and say, look at us, we're so good, we can retain it now as well? That's what I don't know. That's my concern. But I'm 49, so I'm not as concerned as I would have been if I was like, you guys' age.
Yeah, I suppose obviously regarding the front three, I don't think that's a major issue. For me personally, I would agree with people in terms of the midfield need to provide more in terms of goals just to relieve some of the burden from the front three, because if there are moments where they are struggling for or goals or creating chances, then someone in the middle of the park does need to step up. But obviously, you won the league, so I don't think that's been much of an issue. Jordan, are you confident?
Yeah, and I would just say as well, the other thing is that all around the team is still scoring goals. They're still scoring as many goals as they were before. They are being slightly more spread out. But I do understand that when you look, who's the midfielder that you would stop when you're trying to stop Liverpool from winning a game? I'm not sure which midfielder you say, we've got to stop him, we've got to stop him, we've got to stop him. And some would say that's a weakness. I would say it's probably Liverpool's strength, because all three of them work as such a good unit that if there's someone's having an off day, then someone else will say, look, don't worry about that. I'll concentrate on things that actually you do normally. If it's pressing or if it's passing, like I'd say, for instance, Fabinho got a great range of passing. Keita is fantastic dribbling forward. Apparently, no midfielder in the Premier League, and he misses a lot of games, takes on more players than Naby Keita. That's what I've been told.
Okay, that's an interesting start. Obviously, I'll have to check that. Come back to you. I'm not sure.
I could be wrong, by the way.
Yeah, Jordan, what do you reckon the score position is? And then obviously we'll move on to Chelsea. What do you think? How the game's going to pan out?
Honestly, I love a prediction, but I can't call it, and I don't even know how to call it, because you're going to have two teams playing 16 players each. There's going to be experimenting going on. Liverpool are the favourites, so I'll probably go with them just by that logic, really. 2-1, but I don't know. I honestly can't call it. I don't know how you call this sort of game, because it's a weird one. There's no fans. Are players match fit yet? They probably won't be. I don't know. So I'll go 2-1 Liverpool.
Fair enough. Kojo, what do you reckon?
Oh, man, I wish you weren't asking me. You know what? Because Arsenal has knocked some very good results against big teams, I feel like they might sneak this one. So I'll give them a 2-1. I'll give them a 2-1.
Don't give us a no. Hang on, no. Don't give us a 2-1. Like, oh yeah, I'll just give them a 2-1. No. Either you think we're gonna win it or we're gonna lose it.
All right, you win 2-1.
All right. What's going on here? Just some sympathy win.
No, exactly. Man's gonna be pity in that, you know. Daniel, what do you reckon? William Tobago brace and get the winner? What you saying?
Nah, not even. I think, like Jordan said, it's a hard one to call from what perspective to come from. But I'm gonna just give it to Liverpool, just based on the fact that I think they have the better players, they have the better team. They know their best team. They're gonna put out their best team first. So I think before the experimenting does finally start, I do think Liverpool will be ahead. Let's say 3-1 Liverpool.
And Sanj, and yourself?
I'm not going to give you a score prediction because I haven't got any balls like that. But I'll say this: I think Ryan Brewster is going to win the game for Liverpool. That's what I think it will be a big noise that Jurgen Klopp could do without, which everyone's going to say. So he's going to start when the Premier League resumes. He's going to start, and he'll be like, "I don't want to answer this question," but I think Ryan Brewster is as close as you're going to get to the next superstar of. Certainly for Liverpool, and it could be for English football as well. After all, the guys that are already coming through, like Mason Greenwood and that, yeah. I think he's absolutely the real deal.
All right, fair enough. Brewster to win it. Okay, I'm going to just keep it short and sweet. I think Liverpool win this 3-1. I just think Arsenal are going to be, I think Arteta is going to be experimenting. I just don't think Klopp needs to experiment because he already knows the situation. So I think for Arteta, this is a good game for him. It doesn't mean anything. So it's an opportunity for him to try the three at the back and different combinations. So 3-1 Liverpool. But let's move on to the team that has been making the most noise in the last couple of weeks. In particular, this week, signing a numerous amount of players. Daniel, I've seen your tweets, mate. And I'm jealous. I'm not going to lie. Our tweets are all about, games that we won about 10 years ago. Nothing regarding any transfers. Daniel, how are you feeling, man, after this week? Chelsea showed what a big club does. Obviously, making up for lost ground last summer. What are your thoughts?
I think I can only open it with one thing. Oh, Thiago Silva. Now I'm joking. Really and truly, what it comes down to is, at the end of the day, I could go on and on about like how happy we as fans are about the signings we're making because we're addressing key issues. I remember when we had a discussion, I think it was on this platform, we had a discussion about the centre backs and how people were saying Chelsea should be focusing on getting a centre back and not buying Havertz. But I was literally saying, and my argument was, there isn't any centre back to pay Havertz money for. Chelsea aren't going to pay 100 mil for Koulibaly because he's 30 years old. It doesn't make sense. And there's no Van Dijk option in the market right now. I don't think centre backs are like the centre back position to get a top quality centre back. It's at a premium right now. Like literally to have a top quality centre back who can improve your other centre backs. And that's what we needed in a centre back. Someone who could improve our other centre backs. And obviously, I think Thiago Silva, yes, rival fans will say he's declining. And that's natural with age. But I still think he has a lot to offer. I think it is a good move for Thiago Silva to come to Chelsea and to obviously help the centre-back because that's what we've been lacking. Centre-backs that have the ability to take games by the scruff of their neck in terms of their defensive leadership and their ability to communicate. And that's a problem we saw. I don't know if you remember the BT Sport pundits, they analysed the Chelsea Bayern Munich game. I think it was the Muller goal where it was a cross by Lewandowski. The Lewandowski goal. So Muller crossed it to Lewandowski. And the problem was, before the cross came in, what was funny was everyone was turned towards the ball. No one was communicating in terms of the guys around them. And that's the big problem that we've had throughout the season. But the point that I want to make, just to summarize everything, is that as much as I can go on and on as about how great the signings we've made are, there is a lot of pressure on Lampard. I can't lie to you. Like, there is a lot.
Like I said to you last week.
No, 100%. And I definitely agree with that. Like, now, Abramovich has put his money where his mouth is. Like, he's showing that he still loves the club. He's showing that he's still heavily invested in the club. But Lampard really needs to kick on from last year. I think people who have been saying that he failed at Derby, I think that's a bit wild to say. He got to the playoff finals.
He failed.
You think so?
Yeah.
He was expected to come up that season. That's why.
Especially when that Derby team wasn't expected to make the playoffs. So to get to
come up,
they were, bro. They really were.
The year before the year before they were in the exact same spot, so it was like get up this year.
You have to remember, think about the teams that came up that year, and you couldn't tell me that Derby were better than any of the teams that came up.
That was still the expectation. That's the whole point. Whether we think they're better or not, that was the expectation, really, because they got to the same position with. I mean, what was that guy's name? I've got the other guy's name before him. It wasn't Rowett, was it?
Gary Rowett.
It might have been him. I can't remember if it was him or not. Regardless,
before him, I can't remember, but. I mean, you can make that argument. He got to the playoff final in his first year as a manager. I think that's still a great achievement in a very, very tight game as well. So, and he knocked out the favourite Leeds the round before. So, I mean, it's just a toss up the way you want to see it. And obviously, rival fans are going to see it the other way. But yeah, like he's got a lot of pressure, and I think this year he's going to have to kick on and really consolidate third whilst putting up a kind of those challenges where they fought. You challenge for the title, but
fall in April.
Falters towards the end. That's the kind of season I'm kind of expecting. So yeah, that's what I take.
So basically, what you're saying is your expectation is to just make up the numbers, and that's what you're saying, isn't it? Really?
No, because Usmaan, deeper. This is what I've always said. I know you're joking, but it's a 3-year plan, and we're going into the second year of the 3-year plan. I said by the third year.
Oh, why do you up on that? Why do you up on
that? I know. I just have to say it.
Right, Kojo, come to you. Obviously, we'll talk about Lampard shortly and the pressure. Obviously, I'd love to hear what Jordan and Sainz think regarding that. What are your thoughts regarding the signings, first and foremost? Is there any in particular that you think, obviously, I know we know about Werner and Ziyech from a while back, but is there anyone you think, the Chelsea finally made a statement and now it's time for them to kick on?
Yeah, I mean, all the signings make sense one way or another. I mean, especially at the defense, because that's one place I criticised them for. And what Daniel was saying about someone in that backline that can command and sort of just say, look, you need to be here, you need to be here. People were talking about Thiago Silva being older, and if he plays, hold on, I'm just going to kill the spider. There you go. Plays against a one-on-one and all that stuff. Yes, a lot of defenders get beaten on one-on-ones. It's football, but at the end of the day, they need someone that's going to come out and just say, look, you need to do your job here, you need to do your job here. It's very simple. And what he said about defenders not doing that's a problem in football in general. How many times you see players ball watching and all that, and they've signed someone on a free transfer that actually doesn't do that actually commands and leads the line. So they've got that at the back. So all the signings make sense. Chilwell, I'm not his biggest fan, but goodness gracious, Alonso and Emerson, upgrade. So, it made sense. It made sense to sign him as well. And to be fair, they brought the fee down from a reported 80 to £50 million. So they've done good business. So all the signings make sense. The only thing they have to do left for me right now is sort out the Kepa problem. They need a goalkeeper. That's the only thing I think they need to fix. And then after that, this is the team that I feel like, for being honest,
we are buying a goalkeeper.
Who's that though? Oh, Black or Nana?
We will buy
Romero,
if you want.
Apparently, Joe Pereira, he can take him as well.
I take Martinez from Arsenal.
Who?
I take Martinez from Arsenal, actually.
He's leaving.
Yeah,
he's leaving.
Yeah, they reported it today.
Wow,
I'll just say this. He's done very well since he's come in, but let's just take our time. It all takes one mistake for people to find their hidden form. I remember Chesney came and batted it up for like 2 months, and then he became Wojciech Chesney again. But yeah, let's see. I think this process is really good. So let's see what happens. And this one more goalkeeper signing, and I think it's a title challenging team.
Right, okay, that's interesting. Obviously, you alluded to the goalkeeper situation, but John, I just want you to get your thoughts on the defense. Obviously coming from a team that are notoriously poor at defending, What are your thoughts?
Just shots everywhere. He's getting brave in it. He's not even like subtly making them shots now. He's just like throwing them in now. Like, but it's all right. It's all right.
Look,
when we done your team again this season, it's gonna be.
Listen, that's fine.
Okay.
Come back on, mate. You can have I'll have all the smoke, but don't worry about it. But on a level though, what are your thoughts on Thiago and Chua in particular? For me personally, I've said to Daniel, we've had him on the last couple of weeks. The most important sign you guys need to make. Okay, granted, you needed the front line, but your back four is absolutely shocking. There's been so many games that they've played well going forward, but they look like they're going to concede every time the other team actually comes out of their half. Or into their house, should I say? Do you think Chilwell and Thiago will be able to get them to go to that next level? Or do you still think it's potentially not the right players?
No, not at all. So I'll rattle through them. Chilwell, I'm not sure is a good deal. When it was reported, as Kojo said, 80 million, my dad's a Chelsea fan. I was like, really? 80 million? 80 million? I think 50 million is too much for Ben Chilwell, but 80 million? So I'm not sure that's a massive. I like Chilwell. I'm not paying 50 million for him.
Me and Kojo can't talk about no 80 million. We ain't gonna say. I ain't saying nothing about no money with the money we've been spending.
What I will say, and I keep saying this, and I want to point this out. As much as United fans, away from obviously what Maguire has done, let's just talk about the football. As much as United fans have hated and pissed on Maguire throughout the season for mistakes that he has made, no one can tell me that Maguire hasn't improved the defense. And if
we know that, man,
hold on. And my thing about Chelsea is, I'm not expecting Chilwell to be a world beater, but if I see an improvement in the defense, because Ashley Cole really wanted him and Lampard wanted him, so if I see an improvement in the defense, as much as he might make mistakes, I won't complain. Yes, he might get criticized, but you have to look at the facts.
I don't think it's a massive upgrade on Alonso personally. I think going forward, Alonso's better. Yeah, and I think defensively, I think Chilwell is good. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't think Chelsea need another attacking fullback. They need a defensive fullback. They need a new Aspilicueta, and that is not Ben Chilwell. I'm sorry. Your defense needed a fullback who was defense first, get forward second. He's very much the opposite, and I don't even think he's amazing going forward. I think he's good going forward.
The reason why I agree with you is that if you look at the last title winners, so Liverpool and Man City, I wouldn't say they've got defense first fullbacks. Yes, Robertson, I'd say out of
but
Liverpool,
they've also got Van Dijk and they've got a keeper.
Yeah. And we've got Thiago Silva, and we're gonna get.
I'll get onto him as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's 36. When Jamie Vardy starts running at him and he starts shitting him, sorry, can we swear on this podcast?
It's all right.
Sorry. When Jamie Vardy starts opening up, when Vardy and Aubameyang and their man Mason Green start opening up their legs and really getting the gate going, Thiago Silva will realise he's in the Premier League. We're not playing nonce now, bruv. This is the Premier League, and he's 36, not 32 36. On the decline. He's 36, and he's used to playing on the halfway line in France. Let's get it right. I think a 1-year deal makes it palatable. It's a 1-year deal, so you're not tied to him for longer than that. Fair enough. And I take your point. The market for centre backs right now is on the floor. So with what's out there, it's not a shocking deal. But don't tell me that he's the guy takes the next level. I'm sorry.
No. I never said he's
sorry. Not so much you, but Chelsea fans are like, it's Thiago Silva. I'm like, this is not Thiago from 8 years ago.
It's definitely a stepping stone because obviously, like I said, the market is on the floor. However, what I'm trying to say to you is that in response to the argument that yes, he's 36, and we understand that age is of course an issue, but you have to remember that football doesn't work like that. It's not always going to be Vardy versus Thiago Silva. There's a lot of quick players in this league.
Mane's here as well, you know.
I personally think that's what we're going to see from Lampard. We're going to see a step up in terms of the way the team is going to be set up tactically.
That's what I wanted to make the point. I think I've got a fiver on Lampard being sacked this season. And you know what? I say that, but I actually like Frank Lampard. But I have very, very, very strong questions about whether his ability to form a defensive unit at Chelsea. I think he's a decent to very good manager. I'm not so sure. Chelsea's defenders last season, They weren't awful defenders. It was how they defended as a unit. It was problematic,
exactly.
and that comes from coaching.
Personally,
Completely agree.
I think they're shocking. Personally,
they're defenders.
I don't think they're shocking. Individually, I don't think they're shocking.
No, they're not great, but they're not shocking.
And I agree. I agree with you. However, what you need to remember again, and I keep saying this, like I think people want to pick and choose when they want to say that Lampard is a manager who should be capable of creating a defensive unit, and Lampard is a manager who's in the second year of management. Do you get what I'm saying? He's a manager who's learning on the job on the biggest stage of them all. Do you get what I'm saying?
But Daniel, just to cut you off there, he's not going to get that luxury this year, mate. They're not in that learning on the job. Abramovich sacked Jose Mourinho, your most successful manager, without blinking an eye. So he ain't gonna have a show any mercy on Lampard.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Different circumstances. However, I still do think that as long as we're not lingering, as long as we're in the top four, I don't think he's just going to get sacked.
I don't think he'll get sacked.
And I agree with that as well. I'll wrap up. So I want to hear from Sanj as well. But go for the team as well. Timo Werner's record in Germany is insane. I'm not going to criticize him as a bad deal. I'm going to wait and see, because there's something about him that I'm just not convinced about yet. There's something about him that I'm like, I need to just watch him and see how he beds in. So I'll wait for him. Ziyech, I think, is a brilliant bit of business. And if you get Kai Havertz in, that for me would be one of the best signings of the last 10 years. I think Kai Havertz can have an impact on Chelsea the same way Fernandes had on Manchester United, if not more. And I know he's a different kind of player to Fernandes, but that guy, I love Kai Havertz. If Chelsea can get him, that guy.
Daniel, can I just ask you? Have you seen something in Lampard that makes you think that he can cater to that defensive side, which does need improving? I'm not just talking about the players, but the record last year was it over 50 goals conceded, wasn't it, in the league? So I'm just wondering what you've seen that makes you think he will be able to, with the right players, be able to coach that defensive setup that they obviously need, because going forward you've got no problems at all, and you're going to be even more hard to stop with all the players you brought in. But what do you know that makes you so confident that he'll be able to make them a better unit?
And be real, Daniel. Be real. Don't be biased.
Keep it real, Daniel.
And I hope you don't come and say that guy that's a quick defender. What the heck's that got to do with anything? So
no, I'm not. I wasn't talking
speed.
about that.
Speed to defend.
If we're being honest, let's look at it like this. Yeah, the greatest. If your manager isn't a great defensive coach, where it comes from or where it stems from is from your backroom staff, the coaching guys that you have in your team, and especially the new coach that we brought in. I've heard great things from him. I think his name is Anthony Barry. I've heard that he's a great defensive coach. Yes, he's coming from Wigan, and it's not going to be the same thing. Of course, he's coming to a Premier League side. However, I do think that defensive nous and the ability to construct a defensive unit. If you look at, I remember, I believe Carlos Queiroz was credited with a lot of the defensive work that Manchester United were able to build under Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson was able to be that man manager. He was able to, of course, he was a great manager, but you've even seen interviews where Rio Ferdinand said he disagreed with a lot of Alex Ferguson's tactics on many occasions. So you know that the tactics or the success of a manager comes down to how well his backroom staff is. And I think that, especially with the new addition to the team, we can create that defensive unit. I don't think Lampard will ever become a great defensive coach. However, if he has the right people behind him, giving them advice, giving them or teaching the team the way to build the defense, I think we can be very successful.
Yeah, just coming onto that in terms of, having the right team behind him. Obviously, Ashley Cole, like you mentioned earlier, I'll pass it to you, Sam. Ashley Cole was the person that actually sanctioned the Chilwell deal. With fantastic fullbacks as yourself have, and a fantastic centre back, unlike some teams. What are your thoughts, Sanj, on obviously those two additions? Do you think they're going to improve the team? And obviously, as Daniel said, Ashley Cole did want them. He's a defensive coach. Do you think he's got the capabilities of getting the best out of them as well?
Don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's the way they play is not. I wouldn't say it's irresponsible, but it borders on the irresponsible. That some of the times when you see the goals that they concede, you're thinking, well, I've seen better defender lower down the league. So I'm not entirely certain. We talk a lot about coaches that will be doing this or doing that. Ultimately, the head coach is the one who makes all the moves, and he only takes the information that he gets from his coaches and then builds it into the way he thinks. I'm not sure about Lampard. I'm not sure that Lampard, and I'm like you, Jordan. I like Frank Lampard. I don't associate him with the stuff about Chelsea eras bygone, which I would have found dislikable. I like the guy, and I want to see him do well, not at the expense of the team that I support. But I'm not sure that he's got that now to say, yep, this is how we do it. This is how we do that. I think that we're in an era now where we have a lot of coaches are building from the front, whereas previously we had coaches that would build from the back. You look at Guardiola, you look at Klopp. Their success has come from building teams that score loads of goals, and then they work backwards. And that's what I think Lampard's influenced by. But I'm not sure that he knows how to get that back sorted. And it seems to me that he's bought players that he hopes are going to solve the problem for him, rather than actually he solve the problem. So Thiago Silva is a great signing in that sense, that he's bought a guy with incredible experience, been there, done that, won leagues everywhere, has been a key player everywhere, and obviously has worked with incredible pressure where he's gone here, playing for Brazil, and he played for that Brazil team in 2014. So he knows all about the pressure. So coming to Chelsea won't be a big thing for him. But I'm not sure that he's got the legs to do the job that Frank Lampard wants him to. And that Frank Lampard's teams have been set up so that those 36-year-old legs will have to be doing a lot of running when he gets here. And I'm not sure that they're used to doing that. The Farmers League in France, you don't have to do that much running, do you? There's 2 or 3 teams where you have to play at a really top level every season. And after that, that's it. And, you know, what PSG have lost, how many games have lost in the league for the last 2 or 3 years? Not many. So I don't know if he's ready for that level of competition. And I'm not sure that he realizes just how much he will have to mentally impose himself on that team to get them all thinking that when they defend, they have to defend as a unit and not just rely on the individuals to get themselves out of it. So you've got Chilwell, who can go up and down the wing, and everyone will say, oh, he looks like someone like Robertson. Well, yeah, he might look like him every now and then, but he's got to defend. And I haven't seen it. And I know for a fact that we were looked at Chilwell 2 or 3 years ago before we signed Robertson, and we decided not to bother. And there are people behind Ben Chilwell that aren't the most desirable. That's all I'll say.
Ooh. Ooh.
Wow. Strong.
Controversial, I know.
To be honest, regarding Thiago Silva, just to finish off, obviously we'll move on to Maguire. I personally do agree with Danny in terms of his leadership. That's something that they've lacked, especially at the back. So I think in that sense, he'll be a very good asset to the dressing room. So obviously we'll wait and see. We'll come back in a couple of weeks.
Usmaan, I was just to say, I don't know if you remember this, but about 20 odd years ago, you signed Laurent Blanc, didn't you?
Fantastic player.
And he came with that incredible leadership, blah, blah, blah. But you guys stank at the back that season defensively. You need a long time to get absolutely what you need out of Laurent Blanc, and his legs had gone by the time you got him. And he was that sort of age that Thiago Silva's at. So I'm not sure it works as easily as just say, I buy this experience vote, and they'll sort everything out for us, because it's a new league, and he won't be prepared for just how fast and physical it is.
The intensity is something that might be a bit of a shock to him. But like I said, I just want to finish off at the Maguire thing. We're going to do a bit of transfer news, but obviously don't want to go on for too long. I just want to get your thoughts on the whole Maguire situation. Obviously, a lot of people say different things. Some people, don't want to be too political, but some people are kind of referring to the manner in which it's been reported, comparing to other players. Again, I don't want to go into that in too much detail. But, Cody, we'll start with you first and foremost. What are your overriding thoughts on the Maguire situation? Obviously, he's come out yesterday, had an interview with Dan Rowan, if I'm not mistaken, in particular from BBC, but he just looked distraught to me. I was saying to my mate on the way to work, if he's acting in that video, then he needs to think of a new career, because surely that can't be acting. Surely not. Gordon, what are your thoughts?
No, if he's telling the truth throughout, then I've got no issue with him, like fighting his cause and saying, he did say like, I'm not going to apologize for something I haven't done. So, that's fine. And I would hope that he didn't go there and that didn't, what the Greek police are saying happened. I'm hoping that didn't happen in that way. I'm hoping that way he's right. But it's hard to not talk about this thing without going into, how other players are reported, because we all see how the media have the articles, the former players coming out and just saying all these things in his defense. And the one that really just sickened me today was Gary Neville, who was saying that, I would never, go into his case about it, essentially. And I'm just like, you stood on TV live and said that man committed an actual treachery because he missed a penalty. Like, blood, like, keep your energy the same. Don't come and BS. I don't mind you defending players. That's absolutely fine. If he's innocent, fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, if he's innocent, great. But blood, don't now come and change your tune because it's someone else. And this is what people are failing to understand. It's the energy. It's always different for certain people. And you can bring up all the old articles and people say it's the media. No, it's the fans too. People do the same thing for the fans as well. So regardless, it's always hard to talk about it. But I would hope that he's telling the truth. I don't think he was acting. I think he looked very, very rattled. But at the same time, my issue with him going out there, and if that did happen, I've said it before, if he's guilty, you take the armband off him. If he's not guilty, it is what it is. You keep the armband on him, you move. But regardless, keep the energy the same, and that's to everyone, including the people in the media. Don't come and now BS because it's someone else. Like, you know how you acted towards other certain players. So keep the energy towards him the same thing as well. So if they're being accused of something, let them have press time as well. Let them get their interview on TV and say their piece. Don't let them get victimized and then ripped into. Keep the energy the same. That's what I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, I think for me personally, that was, that's been my biggest frustration, especially on social media. Again, obviously, as a Man United fan, I'm going to back him 100% until he's proven guilty, of course. And, again, we can't really comment too much on. Well, no, but obviously, they haven't a retrial, so obviously we'll have to wait and see. Because apparently he did have an opportunity to defend himself, basically, from what I've heard. Anyways, again, I don't know the full story, but from what he said and from what's happened, they've granted the retrial, with him allowing himself to defend himself because he didn't get to do that in the first trial. Hence why they give him the guilty sort of verdict. But yeah, just coming back to, obviously, regarding the captaincy, that's kind of what I want to allude to, as well as the energy thing. Danny, what are your thoughts? Do you think the captaincy should be taken off him? Because at the end of the day, he's a representation of our club. This is all over the place. There's a negative cloud over our club at the moment. We don't really need that, given the fact that we've not signed anyone as well. It just seems like a combination of things, like a bad storm coming into the new season. Do you think it's just going to affect us as well coming into the new season?
I mean, I don't expect it to affect your football. I just think that historically, when a captain has put himself, not even a captain, even a normal player, when they've put themselves in a position where, regardless of whether there's a truth to be told, when it is so bad and it's put in such a negative light, it comes with consequences. And I think the captaincy is the least of Maguire's worries. Like, it's the least thing in his head right now. So I personally do think he should have the captaincy taken away from him, but not because it's a punishment, just because the captaincy is a privilege where, yes, it's very, very hard as a footballer to live a perfect life, and no one's expecting them to live perfect lives. It's just that when it becomes a public thing where so many people are talking about it, so many people are debating on it, it just helps with progression. And it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. Like, I don't have thoughts on whether United keep the captaincy with Maguire, or whether they take it away from him. I think I do have to highlight the stuff that Kojo was saying. I think it's very difficult to talk about this without talking about the way other people are reported. I mean, Maguire's had the chance to say his piece. He's had the chance to really articulate and show people that, like, what the Greek police are saying isn't the truth, and it's far from the truth. But at the end of the day, it's like Kojo said, keeping the same energy. I think it's a shame that football's like this, and we as fans, the media, we've almost been trained to think that one side can have the opportunity to explain themselves and the other side is literally, you can be judged. It's like Maguire's innocent till proven guilty, and then with everyone else is guilty till proven innocent. But even that till proven innocent, it's even arguable, debatable whether they're even allowed to be innocent, if that makes sense. Like, so many people are saying, imagine it was Pogba in Greece that did that and went to, like, literally, you have to say that. Imagine it was Pogba. Imagine it was Sterling. Like, I don't even think they'd be allowed to play again for England. That kind of thing. Maguire even got a cap after everything that had happened. Like, he still got called up to the squad, which I find, like,
I think that call up was before he actually got taken out of the squad, when he got released. If I'm not mistaken, got released.
Southgate said in the interview, we're going to stand by him. So he kind of had egg on his...
But yeah, I do agree. But the squad was released prior to the verdict. So I think the squad was released at 3 p.m. and the verdict was released later, at 7 p.m. So then he got taken out of the squad. So Southgate kind of completely backtracked within a couple of hours, so to speak.
Yeah. But yeah, no, literally, yeah, it's just a tough situation where I think the captaincy should be removed just to round up, and yeah, just make it easier.
Jordan, I know obviously both of you, I left you to last a little bit because you both work in media in particular for long periods of time. What are your thoughts in the manner in which it's been reported? Obviously, if you can comment on that, is Jordan, we'll come to you first and foremost. What are your thoughts on the whole sort of Maguire saga, so to speak?
I don't think this is tough at all. I think this is very interesting. I'll write through all the points very briefly, and then I'll defer to Sanj. Regarding the captaincy, what United do with the captain's armband is up to them. Hugo Lloris got done for drunk driving last season, I remember. Kept the armband. Jack Grealish got done during the pandemic for breaching lockdown. Kept the armband. As far as I'm aware, Steven Gerrard and Joey Barton, when they made their indiscretions for aggravated assault, I believe they both were independently. I believe they were both captain of their clubs at the time. They kept their armbands.
Roy Keane as well, United.
Roy Keane. So John Terry's one was more of an indiscretion. That was the racism one you're talking about.
Racism.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So he probably will keep the armband regardless, because we've seen a track record of clubs that just don't care if their captains
what
doing
about
nonsense.
Tony Adams? Just remind me, John. What about Tony Adams when he went to prison, didn't he? Did he keep the armband then? To Wembley?
I think he did. So Maguire probably will keep the armband. Whether I think he should lose it or not, for what it's worth, I think he should, but he probably won't. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I think it's problematic. Your point, Usmaan, when you said we're talking as if the guy is innocent. I've never known anybody to have the benefit of being spoken about as an innocent man after being convicted of being guilty. Yes, he will have he's going to have an appeal, but as we talk right now in your great podcast, he's convicted. He's guilty. He's a guilty man. Before he was guilty, the press reporting of him was favourable even then. But I kind of understand why you can't go for the jugular, because it's an ongoing case. Yeah, fair enough. But he was getting favourable reporting then. Now he's been found guilty. He's still getting favourable. Look at the headlines. We've had Wayne Rooney, Gary Neville, and all the other buddies of Man United come out this week talking about he's a stand-up guy. He's not that sort of person. I know him. He wouldn't do anything like that. Yeah. I'm not here to say whether he's guilty or innocent, because I just don't know. But what I do know is he was found guilty in the court of Greece. I'm hearing English people, it's a Mickey Mouse court out there in Greece. Oh, but if he was found innocent, it wouldn't be Mickey Mouse then, would it?
That's true.
It wouldn't. So we can't have it both ways. I hear Man United fans telling me about, give him the benefit of the doubt. Why? Why? Again, I'm not here to give a point whether I don't care if he's innocent or guilty. The fact is, he's been convicted by a court of law as a guilty man. So we have to treat him and talk about him as a guilty man. If it's overturned, then we can change. The Southgate decision, I don't think was embarrassing at all. Southgate has to back his man. At that point, he was not found guilty. He has to back his man. Once he's found guilty, you take it back. Things change. I didn't see it as embarrassing at all. What's he supposed to do? You've not been found guilty, Harry, but I'm going to treat you as if you've been found guilty? No. The worst thing about that whole situation for me, delay it 24 hours. Just delay it 24 hojust do you know what I mean? And my final point is, we talk about the difference in reporting. If that was Paul Pogba or Raheem Sterling, they would be lynched by now. And while I agree with that, for me, This is not even about race. I reckon if Jack Grealish had done this, he'd be done. I reckon if Phil Jones had done this, he'd be done.
Finished.
And they're white. So this is not so. We know if it was Sterling, pack your bags, get a passport, move to another continent. We know, and we know why. So there's levels to the amount of favourable reporting that you get. But for me, it's not even about being black or white. I think that Harry Maguire is seen as the great British hope, the captain, the future England captain, the big man, £80 million. He's got to be protected. Listen, we are having a global pandemic. There is riots happening in America. And my man was the lead story on BBC News?
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael,
not to mention Lebanon as well. Obviously, there's a lot of
Who else gets a chance to give their side of the story on the lead story on our national news program? Would Sterling get that?
Facts.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think he said everything, Sad, but if you want to add to that,
I'll just say this last. I got a text last night from a judge in this country who said, "What are the BBC doing by allowing Harry Maguire to have his side of the story?" Now, in case it just to set the record straight, when I say a judge, the judge happens to be my brother, so it's one of those. I see all sides of this story. I work for the BBC, as you know, Usmaan. Yeah. And from a BBC point of view, great, we got an exclusive with the convicted, whatever you call him. I have sympathy for him in the sense that these days things like that are played out in the media in a way that you cannot control. And I don't know what he did. I don't know anyone knows exactly what he did. They can say what he did, or he definitely did this, or he definitely did do that. It was interesting that you brought up Steven Gerrard, Jordan, because I brought up Steven Gerrard with my mates on a WhatsApp chat today, and I brought up Ben Stokes as well. And we obviously remember Ben Stokes from 2 or 3 years ago when the footage emerged. It didn't look good, did it? When we saw that footage of Ben Stokes throwing some of the best left hooks I've ever seen. And the way these things are played out in the media, it almost always makes the sports person look bad. And then in the end, in a court that we can trust, and I will add my voice to, I don't trust the Greek courts, not just because of this, because of other cases that have taken place.
Sorry, I'll let you finish, but don't get me wrong. Yeah. And I can't say too much, but something wasn't quite right about how they handled this as well. I think we have suspicions about that side of it as well. Let's have it right. But this idea that just because it's in a foreign land, they've done us over, I don't like that. But sorry.
That's our basic racism coming through, though, isn't it? Our distrust of foreign countries. That's why so much of this country decided to leave Europe 4 years ago. But that's a completely different podcast. But I have sympathy for him, and I'm a Liverpool fan. I do have sympathy for Harry Maguire. My advice would have been
why? Sorry, Sanj. Why?
Yeah, I was going to say, to finish, and my advice would have been, don't do that interview last night. Whenever it was, because nothing good can come out of that. My sympathy is of all the points I've just said about the way that the media jump on something like this. We're bored. We've been talking about coronavirus for weeks and months. So it wouldn't be nice to do the trademark footballer has been dodgy abroad. He's raised hell, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know exactly what he's done, but I suspect that even if he had done the things that he had been convicted of or whatever, there would have been a context to why things had happened. I've heard stories about what happened to his sister, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into too much of it because this is a program that can go out. So that's where my sympathy is. And I would imagine that if you're in a foreign country and you are virtually maybe of 10 people over there, I would have said 5 of them would know who Harry Maguire is. And therefore they would have said, oh, yeah, we can blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's why I have some sympathy for him. I hope this gets resolved quickly. In terms of the captaincy of Man United, look, I'm a Liverpool fan. You're going to struggle to get me to say anything nice about Man United at any time in my life. But it's a prestigious position. And for now, they should be looking to the vice captain to take some of the burden off him. I don't. You can tell me, Usmaan, who is the vice captain?
I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I don't actually know.
I don't even know myself.
Is it De Gea or Pogba? I don't even know. I actually don't even know who it is.
Probably Bruno Fernandes already in it.
Can I just say regarding the interview, regarding that interview, it felt to, I don't know about you guys, but I agree with Sanj, it was a bad idea. Yeah. But it had the vibes of Prince Andrew, R. Kelly interview vibe about it for me. Something I didn't. And what I mean by that is, he didn't come off looking well. It wasn't an interview that you go. If you're going to go into that sort of interview, you've got to make sure you nail it. And I had more questions than answers by the end of that interview. And something else that really I didn't like as well. Final point. I'll shut up. The reporting of it was like he was in Las Vegas, or he was in what's that, Magaluf. If people don't know, Mykonos, that's some bougie place, you know. That's not some scallywag where all the man them go. That's a bougie.
It's not Benidorm.
It's not. That's the moniker of that. Bro, this idea that he was out and about in some area where all the lads were and all the riffraff of that's not actually true. So again, I won't say too much because I'll get in trouble. But
of course,
the whole reporting of what was going on, and I have questions. Let's leave it there.
I'll end this by saying the one thing I think he's definitely guilty of, and I don't think anyone can argue with this. That short sleeve shirt that he was wearing was an abomination. I mean, that was so Englishman abroad. If I wore that, right, and I've been with my wife for nearly 30 years, she'd have my bags on the road out there and saying that you're never coming back in this house ever.
Whether he's guilty or not, I think the bigger point is that Kojo alluded to is the whole benefit of the doubt that he's been given pre-trial and even post-trial. For me, is problematic. I don't care if he's guilty or not. I just don't care. What I do care about is that he's been almost given this. The media are doing that. There's a great PR job happening around Harry Maguire right now, and I don't like it.
If I can ask a question though, just quickly, what does it mean if? So obviously he's been convicted, but then obviously he's got the appeal. But if he does get a suspended sentence, what does that actually mean? Or
I think he's got it. He's got 21 months suspended sentence right now.
What does that mean?
And he's got to do 10. He's got to do 10 days in jail as well, hasn't he? That's the other thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
they've said that they've got 21 months suspended, but there's also a 10 or 11 day prison sentence.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But 21 months means that if he does another crime in that time, he goes to jail.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If he's stupid enough to go back there,
yeah.
Oh God! So obviously, basically, what I mean is because he's a footballer, he's got a bit of luxury there. Because obviously, if he wasn't, you know what the situation would have been. But anyways, lads, I'm just gonna finish it there. I was gonna say a massive thank you to all our guests. As always, make sure you leave your comments regarding everything that we've discussed. It seems like ages with discussing the Arsenal-Liverpool game. But regarding this competition for that, thoughts on Chelsea's situation, and of course, thoughts on Maguire situation. Let us know what you think. If you disagree with anything, again, let us know. As always, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, show love to all those that have turned up today. Their links will be in the description. Apart from that, it's been your host, Usmaan. Peace. Thank you very much for watching. And obviously, Koja's done jailings as he does it every day for the rest of the